So how would you describe this play, Mr. Standing, if it is not obscene?
I would describe it as risque, perhaps a little more risque than others I have seen.
Yes. Now, in your capacity as a member of that select committee on broadcasting, you have been involved with problems of the selection of material for television.
Yes, I have.
Now, do you think that this play should be shown on television?
No, I don't.
Now, why not?
Because the level of judgment in television is different.
So, we must not judge the theatre by the rules applied to television. Is that what you're saying?
I am, yes.
Yes. Now, is this play, in your opinion, in advance of its time?
I think its form is, and that's the point about the theatre. If it does exist in advance of its time, it performs one of its valuable functions.
And that's what you see this play doing?
I do, yes.
Yes, yes, thank you, Mr. Standing.
You appear to equivocate, Mr. Standing, over censorship at large.
Oh, do I? Sorry to hear that.
One ruling for television and another for the theatre.
Well, let me put it this way. The box in the corner is part of the furniture. Its programmes are available to all at the turn of a switch. It controls millions of minds. It has taken the place of newspapers and other media. The theatre has little direct influence over the public mind.
You said you wouldn't like to see this play on television.
Well, I said I wouldn't advise its performance. It's like giving chocolate cake to a starving man. I would, however, like to see a free television service where advanced programmes like this...
Yes, thank you, Mr. Standing. Now, you went to see the second performance of this play.
That's right, yes.
Did you pay for your seats or were you invited?
I was given a complimentary ticket.
Yes, isn't it a fact that you were invited when the management got wind of the fact that there was going to be trouble and that the police were going to be called in the following night?
I think you could say that, yes.
Mm-hmm. You were invited because you're a well-known supporter of so-called liberal causes in the arts, were you not?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt about that. And there's nothing so damning as that word so-called, sir. They are liberal causes.
Yes, of course. Now, you were the elected member of Parliament for a division of London which is quite wealthy, are you not?
Yes.
Like such areas as Chelsea and Hampstead, it contains a high proportion of professional people. A concentration of people who work in the arts.
That is true.
Would you not agree that the standard of morality that you come into contact with is very different from that of the rest of the country?
Oh, I would. It is a very high standard. I'm very proud to represent it, and I'm delighted to hear you give it its due.
It also makes you fairly unrepresentative of the national viewpoint, Mr. Standing.
Oh, do you think so?
Oh, doesn't it?
Well, if you're implying that the standards of morality in the rest of the country are low, you are mistaken.
No, I didn't suggest they were low.
Well, you're the one who brought up standards.
What I'm suggesting is that the people you come into contact with may be less easily shocked.
Well, if you mean that better educated people are liable to be more broad-minded, I'm inclined to agree with you. That's an argument in favour of a better education system.
Do you mind if we get to the point of this exchange, Mr. Lotterby?
I'm sorry, my lord. Let me put it like this, Mr. Standing. There is a general level of acceptance of what can be shown in public, is there not? I mean, people just don't accept other people walking down the street without their trousers on.
Well, they don't in my constituency.
Right. Now, if there is this general standard throughout the country, shouldn't the theatre comply with it?
Oh, no. The theatre should be in advance of its time.
Yes, but you see, these standards are safeguarded by laws on obscenity, Mr. Standing. Now, I gather that by being in advance of your time, you are in conflict with the law.
Well, I personally am not in conflict with the law, sir. I do, however, support all moves for changes in the obscenity laws.
You would remove all censorship?
Well, practically all of it, yes.
Which makes you completely unrepresentative of public opinion. Now, wouldn't you agree?
Of enlightened public opinion, no.
You support the public exhibition of fornication, homosexual behaviour, adulterous, perverted acts?
No, I didn't say I would support anything of the sort. My pleasure came from seeing it integrated into an artistic entity which was so amusing and revealing in describing society's shortcomings.
Have you ever done any of the acts depicted on that stage?
Oh, yes, of course I have.
You have?
Oh, it's an absurd question. I mean, I've opened doors, walked into rooms, had conversations.
You're fencing with me, Mr. Standing. You know perfectly well I was talking about the perverted sexual acts.
Well, I don't think it's any of your business, but as it happens, I don't indulge in sexual perversions.
You took your daughter with you. Now, supposing she were to try to copy some of the behaviour she saw on that stage. Now, what would you think of the play then?
I think you've misunderstood this play, sir. You see, it says to us, if we do it like that, it's ridiculous. But it's not an incitement to behave like that. It's the direct opposite. It's a warning.
Well, the play may have said that to you, Mr. Standing, but then, after all, you are in the fortunate position of being in advance of your time, are you not? No further questions.
I have no re-examination, my lord.
Thank you.
Members of the jury, this play, Public Lives, was written as a comedy of manners, but during the course of rehearsal, the two accused decided that this would not be commercial enough, so they decided to change the play, to dress it up, if that's the right phrase, with naked bodies simulating various perverted sexual acts, mostly of a homosexual nature, and culminating in a group orgy. And members of the jury, do you think it right to show on a public stage in full detail naked men and women indulging in perverted sexual acts? Is this not permissiveness taken to the extreme limits? Liberty turned into license? Now, we've been told that this entertainment is probing our social condition and pioneering new art forms, but surely what it is really doing is trying to make a profit out of pandering to our baser instincts. Now, it seems to me, members of the jury, that if you believe that this play was not obscene, that it did not tend to deprave and corrupt, then what you are saying is that there is no such thing as obscenity in the theatre, and that I cannot believe you would say. When you are considering your verdict, members of the jury, I ask you to remember the words of Mrs. Rosewall. The world was suddenly a filthy place. It had become polluted for me. I wonder what on earth we are all up to, where on earth we are all going.
Members of the jury, this trial is about freedom, the artistic freedom to criticize society by satirizing the sacred cows it holds most dear. Now let us get it quite clear. The presenters of this play are artists who are deeply concerned to improve the society which we all live in. Now, it is true that freedom involves risks, but restrictions lead to secrecy and guilt. Now, what are the risks that freedom involves? Well, if we are to allow it, we must from time to time expect to be exposed to situations we did not expect, to experiences we did not expect, and even at the time, perhaps, that we did not want. But sometimes it is right that we should be shocked in order that we might see more clearly. And clearly, we mustn't fear that we've been corrupted or depraved simply because we've been shocked. And do not be put off by the fact that this play provoked laughter. Laughter is the great cleanser. You don't hear laughter in strip clubs or in shows designed simply to titillate or stimulate sexual impulses. This was not that sort of show. It did not set out to do that, and so far no one has stood in that witness box and said that they were corrupted or depraved. Now, you have seen this play, gentlemen of the jury, and you are 12 representatives of your countrymen. Were you corrupted or depraved? If you are not, then how on earth can you find these defendants guilty? Because you are upstanding and decent men, and if you are not corrupted or depraved, then who are we talking about? And if you are corrupted and depraved, then how is it that 12 corrupted and depraved men can give a verdict in the Crown Court? Is that what British justice is all about? Now, perhaps this play embarrassed you. But I put it to you that the day that artists and playwrights stop embarrassing and disturbing and shaming us, then that is the day we must stop and ask them what they are doing. I ask you to find the defendants not guilty.
Now, members of the jury, the law relating to obscenity is notoriously difficult. In the last 12 years, a number of verdicts have been reversed on appeal because of a faulty direction to the jury as to the law. Recently, in the trial relating to the book Last Exit to Brooklyn, and in the trial of the magazine Oz 28, convictions were reversed on appeal for that very thing. So I must be very careful to give you a proper direction as to the law, and I want you to listen very carefully. The first question you must ask yourselves is, have the prosecution proved beyond reasonable doubt that the performance of the play on April the 23rd was obscene? Now, a play is obscene if taken as a whole, its effect is such as to tend to deprave and corrupt persons who were likely, having regard to relevant circumstances, to attend. It is no offence if a play merely shocks or disgusts. The question is whether a significant number of people in the audience might have been depraved and corrupted by it. Now, what is a significant number is for you to decide. And the words taken as a whole mean you must consider the whole play and not an isolated line or episode. If you are not satisfied beyond reasonable doubt that the performance was obscene, then, of course, your verdict will be not guilty. But if you think it was obscene, you must then consider the defence, that the giving of the performance was justified as being for the public good on the grounds that it was in the interests of drama. But if this defence is not established, then there would be no excuse for the obscenity, and your verdict could be one of guilty. Well, now, members of the jury, these are very difficult questions, and I ask you now to retire and to consider them.
All stand.
Answer this question, yes or no. Have you reached verdicts on which you're all agreed?
Yes.
Do you find the prisoner at the bar, Alexander Pastor, guilty or not guilty of producing an obscene play?
Guilty.
Is that the verdict of you all?
Yes.
Do you find the prisoner at the bar, Jeremy Williams, guilty or not guilty of directing an obscene play?
Guilty.
Is that the verdict of you all?
Yes.
Mr. Justice Campbell sentenced Alexander Pastor and Jeremy Williams to 15 months' imprisonment. In addition, they were jointly ordered to pay £62,000 in legal costs. Next week, a chance for you to join another jury in assessing the facts when our cameras return to watch a leading case in the Crown Court.